Hey everyone, Rosario here, and welcome to another episode of Modern Finance. Tonight we're going to be breaking down Meet Kevin's review of the Tesla Model S Plaid. What he gets wrong, what he gets right, and some things you should know that if you're investing in Tesla that Meet Kevin actually makes big mistakes on. So stay tuned to find out more. Let's begin. All right, so I've got Meet Kevin's video up here, and it's called The Truth About Tesla's Most Expensive Vehicle After 500 Miles. And that's right, it is Tesla's most expensive vehicle that you can pick up today, but you can actually order a more expensive model, and that's the Model X. Now, Meet Kevin has two models of Tesla. He used to have the Tesla Model X 2017, which he gave to someone, which we'll find out in this video. And now he's purchased the Tesla Model S Plaid. In this video, he's giving his review of the Tesla Model S Plaid and explaining how Tesla has changed vehicles from his Model X to the Tesla Model S Plaid that he owns now, and how that might affect Tesla's share price. So let's take a look and see what he says and where he might have gone wrong.
It's lowering the front of the car down right now.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah. Ready? Here we go. Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Hey, everyone, Meet Kevin here. In this video,
Okay, that's absolutely true. That's the feeling you get when you ride it.
we're going to get a complete review of the Tesla Model S Plaid. I think this video is important to watch whether you are a shareholder of Tesla or you're interested in potentially becoming a Tesla owner. I'm going to show you and tell you some things that might not be the most bullish about Tesla, but I'm also going to tell you things that I think are very bullish for Tesla.
Playing back at 2x speed, by the way, but if you want to watch this, obviously you can head right over to Meet Kevin's channel. I'll link this video down in the description below.
So, in my opinion, you're going to get a very non-biased review in this video. Even though I'm a Tesla shareholder, I'm not going to hold back. I'm going to tell you why I think Tesla is able to increase their margins the way they are, because I think they're cutting some corners. Let's get into the review of the video. Keep in mind that I've had this Tesla since December.
Okay, here's a hint. I don't think Tesla's cutting corners in the production of the Model S Plaid, but let's take a look and see what Meet Kevin thinks. And if they are cutting corners, I don't think they're cutting corners where Meet Kevin says they are.
It was an early Christmas present to myself. It is a butter purchase, which means it melts away in value. It is not an investment purchase, but I did it. I did give my Tesla Model X, which is a 2017 model, which I'll be making some comparisons between. I did give that to my father, who is absolutely in love. And now I can say my dad rides my black X.
So, Dad, you like the X? Tell me about it.
It's nice.
But there's some things that this car has that the X didn't have, and there's some things that this doesn't have that the X did have. Kind of bugs me since I just paid over $148,000 for this car. The first of which sounds a little first world problemish, but the front is substantially smaller on this. Now it makes sense because this is a smaller car, or so it seemed, because this car actually, I'm pretty sure, we'll put up the stats, is longer than the Model X. But because it's not as tall, the front is relatively small. On the Model X, you have a much deeper front, which I much prefer. I have a lot of stuff that I can put in the front. Can't put that much into here. Somebody could definitely crawl in, like fully crawl into the front, not that anybody would. Of the other one, you could close it comfortably.
All right, so that's true. The Model S definitely has a smaller front than the Model X. The original 2012 Model X the original 2012 Model S actually had a bigger front than both the Model X and the Model S. You could fit like a full-size human in there. Unfortunately, I believe Tesla had to reduce the size of the front in the Model S because of the extra components that the new Model S Plaid has, like the heat pump, which allows it to better recuperate heat from waste heat from the batteries and from the motor, and also from the environment. This is something that was lacking in older Tesla vehicles, and it does take up a fair amount of room, so that's probably why that extra space is taken up. Also, this is the tri-motor variant of the Model S. I believe two of the motors are in the back, but the front motor might use up some additional room there, and they've definitely increased the size of the motors in the Model S Plaid, so that might explain the size difference in the front, at least partially.
This not happening. So it is what it is. It's a sedan. I get it. Maybe I'm being overly critical with that. One thing that the X had that was really annoying was when I went to close this with one hand, it wasn't possible. I either have to sit on it, which is a bad idea because then your pants could scrape up your hood, or you have to use two hands to close it. I'm going to try to one hand close this one. That's good. So they fixed that on the Model S, so that's good. Because this, if you have an older X, you know this was a big annoyance, and it was mostly something I think that Tesla just kind of failed to think about, that you should be able to close your...
I have a 2017 Tesla Model X, and I haven't had any issues with closing the front with one hand. You just have to do it properly. Maybe there are some vehicles with that issue, or maybe Meet Kevin actually never was shown how to close it one-handed, but good to see that it's much easier to do in the Model S.
Front with one hand. Something that I did notice as well about the Model S is I pulled this up to a garage and I opened the back, and the Model X is really good about having sensors that know if you're going to hit something. I don't believe this has sensors if you're going to hit something. So the Model X, if you went to open the Falcon Wings or the back, it would know if something was above you, and it would not open just from whatever sensors it had. I don't believe this has that. I'm just going to kind of be here. Yeah, no, absolutely not. So if you park too close to a garage or something, this would definitely cause some damage to your back door.
Okay, so the Model X has a sensor right in the top middle of the vehicle between the Falcon Wing doors. So actually, if you did exactly what Meet Kevin did there with the Model X, the door would not stop. It would not be able to see your hand because there are no sensors directly above the trunk of the Model X or above the rear tailgate. So what he did there would not work on the Model X 2017 either. It would not be able to detect that and stop. It does have force sensors to detect if you're putting upward force on it and it is hitting a roof. So if he had put a little more force on it, I expect it would have stopped and moved down. So that's kind of a small oversight that Kevin makes, and he's kind of comparing apples to oranges because the Model X has Falcon Wing doors and it has a sensor right in the top middle of the vehicle that allows those doors to open differently depending on where you are. That sensor is not specifically for the trunk. So certainly the Model X would not react this way if you just put your hand above the trunk. I've tried that myself.
Now, in my opinion, and I've left the trunk kind of a mess, that's okay, I just threw some things in here. We'll talk about the trunk in just a moment. In my opinion, that is something that a premium luxury car like this in 2021 should have. The back trunk shouldn't be able to smash into something without sensor stopping it. Now, obviously, the trunk is going to be a little bit smaller than the Model X.
That's a fair point. The trunk shouldn't be able to smash into anything. I think it would stop if you put enough force on it. Like if it hit a roof, it would definitely stop and it wouldn't damage the back of the vehicle. You might get a tiny little paint scuff, but there are force sensors in the tailgate.
You don't have that same height that you do on the Model X, but again, it makes sense, it's a sedan. Now with the Model X, if you had all 7 seats down, you'd have less space in this trunk. The Model X was basically a non-functional trunk vehicle if you were using all 7 seats. This has a lot of nice space, and one thing, if you come a little closer, that's really nice here, is that this is pretty flimsy, so if you set heavy things on here, like in real estate, I used to set tile on here.
The Model X has basically the amount of space that he has from the first panel here in the trunk. You have to fold down the rear seats to get any additional space. So what he's saying is pretty true. There's not a lot of trunk space in the Model X if you're using all 7 seats.
You want good support under this. This is pretty flimsy, so I don't love that, but one thing that is nice is look at this. This frame all the way around right here, that's actually quite valuable because if you put this down, you want it to be able to support that weight, or if you have little kids that go back here, that's a good thing. The original Model X, all it had were these 2 little plastic pieces that stuck out like this to hold the whole shelf. That was really stupid, because that actually broke and I had to get fixed. You do have a lot of little other nooks and crannies over here, nook over here, you got another, I don't know what you would even call that, a little nook over there, although it kind of looks like, no, yeah, you can put whatever you want over there, cover it up with this little side panel here. So that's neat. This is kind of odd. This I don't love. I just noticed this, but it's for what it is. If you come in a little closer here, for a $148,000 car, this shouldn't be unfinished like this, especially since if I peel this back, it's really just the body of the cars down here. You can see some insulated foam. If you come a little, maybe stand up and come a little closer here, you can get a good peek in here. That's weird that it's like this. I mean, whatever. Nobody sees it. It's under here, but look at that. Classic Tesla fit and finish. Yeah, it's okay. I imagine this has an auto stop if it hits on the way down. It does. Okay, but that's normal. You would expect that. Carbon fiber here, probably shouldn't try to close it from this. I don't want to cause damage to that, so close this. Now, if you come close to this right here, when I go to unlock the car, that motor sounds pained. I don't know how long the servo here is actually going to last when it's already making sound like that. Listen to this.
Okay, so talking about the trunk and the space in the trunk, yeah, it absolutely makes sense that he'd be kind of pissed off that his $148,000 car doesn't have finishing underneath the trunk area where the carpet goes in. I'm pretty sure the reason they have it like that is so that the techs can access the rear of the vehicle from above if they need to, but still that's something that Tesla can improve on. Now what he's talking about here is the sound of the door handles. From our experience, or from my experience owning multiple Tesla vehicles and specifically Model S, they have had a lot of issues with these self-presenting door handles over the past 10 years, especially in the earlier model year vehicles. They have since changed the mechanism, so hopefully this new mechanism will last for a longer period of time. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait for a little while to see if it fails in the newer Model S and Model S Plaid. But what Meet Kevin is saying here is that it sounds strained. I think that may not be the case, but we'll have to wait and see. I believe they have revamped the system, and we have vehicles going back as far as 2018 that haven't had any issues with the self-presenting door handles on the Model S. So even though it sounds a bit off, I think Tesla should consider hiring a sound engineer to make those door handles sound better, because it is a premium car, and people who are in the premium car market can be very discerning, and those sounds and the feels of your vehicle are very important. So that's definitely something that Tesla could do to improve the quality and the experience of owning the vehicle.
So I'm going to put my mic a little closer. I'm going to lock it here. Not so bad on the lock, but when I open this, it sounds pain. Now I like it, it's nice. One thing that you don't have on this though is the option to have self-presenting doors, and that was on the upper end model of the Model X. The doors would actually open, the handles would self-present, and the doors could open automatically for you when you walked up to the driver door, which is awesome. This sounds really first world, but having driven a Model X and having the pleasure and almost the luxury of getting in the car, stepping on the brake, and then having the door close on me is something I've gotten really, really used to. And I know it sounds extremely first world, but it's odd because every time I get in this car, I step on the brake and I'm like, ah, that's right, I just spent $148 grand to do this. And again, super, super first world, and probably highly unrelatable unless you have a Model X. And I'm just thinking to myself, why did the car 4 years ago have that, and then this one doesn't? So it makes me wonder, like, is this how Tesla's getting the margins up? Are they cutting out on sensors in certain places, like the back opener? Are they cutting out on the feature of having a self-closing door? It bothers me a little. Now, inside, something
Okay, so right there is, I think, the biggest mistake that Kevin makes throughout this video, and that's kind of taking his example from his Model X and trying to translate it across to the Model S. The Model S has never had self-presenting doors. It's never had self-opening and self-closing doors. The Model X has always had those. If Kevin had ordered a Model X Plaid, which won't come out until later this year, I believe, he would have still got the self-presenting doors and the self-opening and self-closing doors. So that's something that is available on a different model of car through Tesla and has never been available with the Model S. So that doesn't really make sense to describe it as a way that Tesla is cutting costs. This would not enable them to cut costs at all because it's not a feature that they've ever had in this vehicle. So removing it is just keeping costs the same, if anything. I do understand that he's coming from a Model X, which had the feature, and it feels like a downgrade. But if he wanted the feature, he could have ordered another Model X. Unfortunately, he would have had to wait almost a year because the Model S Plaid isn't ready yet. That's a whole another issue, and something that he should discuss in a later video, probably talking about the fact that it currently takes 6 months to get a Model Y or Model 3, and up to a year to get a Model X. And what's going on with the Cybertruck? Obviously, it's been delayed by another year. I'm super excited for that vehicle, but I can't get my hands on one, and no one can get their hands on one because they haven't been released yet. So we'll have to see what happens there. But yeah, meet Kevin. I think he's just making an error here of comparing across different models and ascribing that to Tesla trying to cut costs, which I don't think it is.
love. This feels really nice. The leather is incredible.
Seats are really nice, really nice. Quality is 80% better.
I had the white leather last time. This feels a lot more luxury. I don't know if it's the finish or the trim or what it is they did. It just gives you more of a luxurious feel. Maybe it's the
Small correction here. It's actually vegan leather. It looks like leather and it's actually really high quality, super easy to clean. The reason that it might feel higher quality than the original X is because it has ventilated seats now, which is something that was not available in the 2017 Model X. The 2016 Model X actually did have heated and ventilated seats, but they took that feature away in 2017. And I'm actually really glad to see they're bringing it back in the 2021/2022 Tesla Model S and probably X Plaid. I have heard rumors that they're also bringing ventilated seats to the Model Y, so that would be amazing. This is something that is great in hot climates, and it definitely increases the breathability of the seats. But this isn't an area where Tesla is cutting costs. It's definitely more expensive to add ventilated seats than it is to not have them. So another point against, I guess, meet Kevin's thesis throughout the video that Tesla is trying to cut costs here. That thesis doesn't really make sense to me because it seems like they haven't removed any features as far as I can tell, and they're in fact adding significant features to their most luxury vehicle, which is what you'd expect.
breathability of the leather here, whatever it is. This feels a lot better than what the Model X had, so definite improvement there. Now, this one, I gotta say, I got some beef with the steering wheel. And I love innovations, but this one bothers me. First of all,
You're driving, you're in a panic. Oh crap, someone's cutting off. Nothing happens. Why?
That was meet Kevin's audio that changed there. It's not on my end. But yeah, I definitely think that the Yoke steering wheel was a genius, brilliant marketing decision on Tesla's part. It's really a marketing play because the functionality is the same as a steering wheel. It's a little bit better maybe for looking at the dash screen when you're driving, so you're able to see your speed and the location of other vehicles around you on the heads-up screen in front of you. Unfortunately, I have heard some fairly negative comments on the ability to turn in tight spaces. Obviously, we'll have to see how that pans out over the coming weeks and months and if it leads to any accidents in parking lots. It seems like everyone gets the hang of it pretty quickly. It just takes a different driving style. Definitely something to get used to. But me, Kevin's about to talk about something I absolutely agree with and I think Tesla should address. So let's get to that.
Because in a panic, someone cuts you off. You want to honk? You gotta somehow move your thumb over here, which your thumb ain't gonna reach because you gotta push that button. Like, I ain't got time for that in an emergency. And the fact that that does not work is a safety problem, in my opinion. That is not good. This should work as well as that button if you want, but have both. Don't love that at all. The horn should
Totally agree with me, Kevin, here. You got to have the horn in the middle. It's like a reaction for people. It's something that you do when there's an imminent accident and you need to warn people of something going to happen. You automatically reach your hand for the center of the steering column, and doing that in the Model S Plaid will do nothing. So I feel like that could actually lead to preventable accidents. So that's definitely something Tesla should consider changing if they can.
Function as an emergency intuitive feature, and it doesn't. For it not to function this, weird. Another thing, the turn signals, I know in the future when we have autopilot, all this stuff's gonna be auto. Weird. The left and right here. But this is something to get used to. I can get used to the turn signals being right here. I will say what I do like is when I set the turn signal and then I'm on the highway or whatever, and I change lanes, as soon as I'm done changing lanes, it automatically turns the turn signal off. See, like in the BMWs, if you would set the turn signal like halfway, it would just blink 3 times and assume you were done with the blinker after that, or you had to set it all the way and manually turn it off. This will turn it off once it senses that you've actually made your turn or changed lanes. Love that. That's a great feature. Now, in terms of driving, this is probably best suited for when you're actually driving. So let's give it a shot, and I'll show you where my frustrations are. Before I show you the turning issue with this, let me also mention that I do think this is not as intuitive as it could be. If I want to go forward, I seem to always get this backwards. So I wanted to go forward, and I kind of feel like I should pull it back to go forward. I have my stuff on the floor there. I'll pick that up in a little bit. But you actually have to push the little icon forward, which
I think the reason why he feels like he should pull it back to go forward is because in almost all cars, drive is below park. So even in the Model 3 or the previous Model X, you'd push the gear stalk down. And in many modern cars and even older cars, in order to shift a car into drive, you pull the stalk back. So it makes sense that he would want to pull it back. This car does have a feature where it's supposed to know which direction you want to go automatically and engage in that direction for you. Meet Kevin doesn't talk about that here, but that's an interesting oversight. Maybe he didn't know about the feature, or maybe he doesn't have it turned on. But let's keep listening.
makes sense. It makes something else to get used to. I don't know if that's just a me thing, but I keep wanting to pull it back to go forward. I don't know why. But anyway, let's go. And this is where I kind of noticed my first annoyance is driving slow with this yoke. This is weird. Like I never want my arms to cross. This, in my opinion, is very dangerous. So like with a circular steering wheel, you can slide your hands around, but you can't really do that because it's a weird pretzel on this end, and there's nothing to grab onto on this end. So I find myself kind of doing this, but then I'm also restricted with my range of motion. So in slow driving, this is weird. So if I go to make a left turn over here, what I found the best thing to do is palm this yoke right here, and then I can kind of get back to my original turn, and I still try to slide, but notice how my hand fell off there on the slide? I usually like my hand to stay having contact on the wheel while while that turn finishes. That's something that I've just grown up with driving. So we'll do it again here. We'll do a left turn here, and again, I palm it, and I really have to kind of stay with it, which is just weird. It's just another step to get used to. That's okay. That didn't seem that bad because, again, it's just something that you have to get used to. But there are definitely at slower speeds times where it's like, wow, this is bizarre. Now, for driving faster, this is amazing. So if you're going to launch this, you go into cheetah mode and you're going to launch this, or you're just in autopilot, great. But again, if I go to let go here, there's nothing. And all of a sudden you're off the wheel. Kind of weird. Again, something probably just to get used to. But for autopilot driving, you get maximum visibility with this half wheel here. And I think that's really what the car is designed for, is that eventually you're just not going to have to touch this, with the exception of the little wobbles here. Now, one thing I was worried about upgrading to a newer Tesla was that because they have the in-cabin camera, I was a little nervous that privacy-wise, I just was going to get a million more notifications about touch the wheel.
Yeah, so privacy is a really important concern for a lot of companies, and I think Tesla, including the in-cabin camera here, they had claimed that it was initially going to be only when you're having other people drive your vehicle on the Tesla network to make sure that they were operating it safely. But unfortunately, it seems like the NHTSA and other regulatory agencies have pressured Tesla into enabling the onboard camera for driver monitoring while autopilot is engaged. And I think that's unfortunate, and it feels a bit nanny-ish to me. I don't like being watched while I'm driving. I understand that it's in the auspices of safety, but people should be responsible for their safety while they're driving, and Tesla already says that you need to be paying attention to the road. So if you're using autopilot, it's your responsibility to keep your eyes on the road and make sure you're paying attention. I don't think Tesla should be doing that for you. It's annoying, and I found that you can actually, as a little tip, you can actually cover that camera with a piece of electrical tape, and it doesn't bother you any more frequently, I've found, compared to if you have it on. So if you're privacy minded like myself and you don't want Tesla necessarily watching what you're doing while driving, maybe think about covering up the camera. Kevin doesn't really talk about that, but he does say that if the camera is on and watching you and your eyes are on the road, it does give you a little bit longer before you have to shake the steering wheel, but there are ways to get around that as well. It's unfortunate that regulators are so keen on making sure everyone is paying attention and not putting responsibility on the drivers. But I guess they want to make sure that the vehicles are as safe as possible, and that's obviously going to reduce the amount of fun you can have and make the car feel a little bit more like it's monitoring you instead of you monitoring the car.
more often because I'm looking off into the distance or I'm changing the song or whatever. I timed the notification because this does have an in-cabin camera, and I set it on autopilot on the highway, and I timed that it would generally ask me to wiggle the wheel every about, on average, 35 seconds. Sometimes it would go as long as 59 seconds without having me to wobble the wheel, but that was only when I was staring at the road with my eyes open, like just bluntly staring at the road, which generally people don't do. But if you're blinking, if you're looking around, you're going to expect to wobble this wheel, yoke, whatever, every so about 30-35 seconds. And I found that was true whether you were just looking at music, or I'm just going to say it, if you're looking at your phone, testing purposes, if you were kind of just doing this, even just for giggles, it still had about that 35 second cooldown in terms of when it would ask you to wobble the wheel. That was on a highway with autopilot on.
Now, another thing is, if you're one-handed driving with your right hand, good luck setting the blinker. You're gonna have to get your left hand up here and a single hand drive with your left hand. I suppose it's not that big of a deal depending on how you're used to driving. In the meantime, though, something that I do really like is I love that you've got these built-in contact chargers right here. So you just plop your phone in here or here, and your phone's charged in the spot. This is also pretty cool. Is this little thing? You can kind of just pull this back, and it opens up this whole segment. Your cup holders here, your little tray that you've got here. Something where you can probably hide things, which nobody knows. Look at that. It goes down even deeper into this black, and this goes down deep. I mean, you could definitely put 2 or 3 handguns in there. Nobody would know. Not that I have any. Oh, look, I didn't even know this. The cup holder goes back. Oh, that's incredible. Oh, and you have USB-C plugs down here, and a cigarette lighter. That is incredible. I did not even know those were under the cup holder. 2 USB-C plugs. That's pretty cool. See, even I just discovered.
Difficult to get a hold of handguns in Canada, but good that Meet Kevin notices that you can fit a couple handguns in the storage compartment on the right side of the vehicle. Very interesting.
This also opens up to another little compartment that you've got over here. So I love everything about the inside. Very minimalist, great. One thing that does bother me is the whole, like, when you opt in for the self-driving beta, you will end up having nightmares about your safety score. I woke up at 2 a.m. yesterday and swear I saw my safety score was like 70, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? And I was up for an hour sweating about, oh my gosh, what's my safety score? And every time I look at my phone, I didn't have a safety score yet. So I've had the car 4 days now, and still no safety score. Now, in fairness, I did opt in late on when I turned on my safety scores.
Okay, Kevin, I'm a little jealous of you because you are able to have a safety score. Up here in Canada, we haven't even got the FSD beta yet, so we have no opportunity to try the software. I read an article today about people complaining that Tesla was allowing customers to test FSD beta on their vehicles because they thought it was unsafe. But if you're monitoring the vehicle, you can simply take control at any time, and it's significantly safer than a human driver, especially with you watching the road and being able to take over at any time. It's very surprising to me that people are so concerned about this feature. And I'm really excited for a future where driving is not a pain. It's just something that you do to get from point A to point B, and you don't have to worry about focusing on the road, and the car is able to get you there safely. And that's what Tesla is enabling here, albeit slowly. And unfortunately for Meet Kevin, he doesn't have access to FSD beta just yet. As you'll hear, his safety score hasn't come through, so that's unfortunate for him. But let's find out about his experience, because I've had similar experiences with Tesla, and it's good to take note of this if you are going to buy one of their cars.
Probably been about 48 hours-ish that I've been opted in on the safety score. Still no score. I hear rumors that you have to drive at least 500 miles. I don't know when I'm actually going to get to 500 miles. Kind of inconvenient because I want to experience the full self-driving beta as soon as possible. Which is actually one of the reasons I got this car, because the Model X would need a camera hardware upgrade in addition to the chip hardware upgrade, which I'd already gotten. But the camera hardware upgrade is not available yet. Kind of frustrating, but I want to be, and I want to see what the cutting edge of technology is, and I can't yet.
Now, I want to be clear about this. I paid $10,000 for full self-driving. Now, you have to get invited to the full self-driving beta, but you can only get invited to the full self-driving beta once you have a safety score that is relatively close to 100. So like 100, 99, 98, 97, I believe. I'm not sure if they're doing 97 yet. They invite you to full self-driving for the beta over time. But in order to even potentially be eligible for the beta, you have to get a safety score. I've spoken to many people who have given me troubleshooting tips like reinstall the apps, make sure you're updated, make sure you're close to Wi-Fi, try a different phone. I have used every method possible. I've taken this car to Tesla service, and Tesla service literally just told me, quote, be patient. I will put up on screen their service letter saying nothing's wrong, just be patient. And I hate to say it, but folks, I'm coming up on 1 month of owning this vehicle. We're at 29 days of owning this vehicle, and I still do not have a safety score with about 500 miles on the car. It's really frustrating because I bought this car because I wanted to do videos showing off the self-driving of this car. So I spent $148,000 excited to just potentially get invited to the full self-driving beta. I'm not asking to skip anyone in line. I'm just asking the car to even give me a chance to get in line. It's kind of like everybody's in line for the full self-driving beta, and I try to get in line, and there's a security guard going, no, you're not allowed in the line. Like, I'm not even allowed to get in line because this is what I get. I kid you not, it has been 29 days, and this is what I have. So I will say, extremely frustrating. So if you're getting this car, and you're going to pay the $10,000 for the full self-driving beta, and you think you're definitely going to be able to get in line, hold your breath, okay? You might not. You might never be able to get in, which is extremely frustrating. And nobody at Tesla actually gives a crap about helping you, because I called in, they said, sorry, nothing we can do, just wait. The service center, sorry, nothing we can do, just wait. This is clearly a bug when other people are getting a safety score within 24 hours of owning the car, and it literally...
Okay, just to jump in here, I can just imagine Elon Musk sitting at his computer picking who he wants to get a safety score and who he doesn't want to get a safety score, and just watching Meet Kevin and just slowly chuckling as he doesn't get his safety score, and his head gets redder and redder until his ears explode. I'm pretty stoked for full self-driving beta in Canada myself. But yeah, obviously it's got to be frustrating to drive around and not get a safety score. But Meet Kevin, I guess if you're talking about looking at your phone or closing your eyes while the car drives itself. Maybe that's why you haven't received a safety score yet. Just saying. But honestly, it's probably just a bug on Tesla's part. Dealing with Tesla service has always been completely useless, and unless you know someone who's a Tesla executive, it's not very likely that they're going to be able to do anything for you. I think Tesla needs to empower their service employees to do more and to know more about the company. I've got a lot of misinformation and different information from people at service centers that I know to be factually incorrect based on ownership of multiple Tesla vehicles and just kind of following Elon's Twitter account. So that's something that definitely Tesla has room to improve on, and that's the quality of their service. And me, Kevin talks about that here, but I think it goes deeper than what he's saying. It's not just down to being able to give you software. It's about being able to interact with people and make decisions and actually be able to help them, and just having a knowledge of their products and understanding how they work. I know that's complicated to do with vehicles that have so much amazing software and AI, but I think it's something that Tesla could do, given they're such a large and impactful company.
He says the safety score will be available after your first trip, but it's not. I have to say, I'm pissed off. I'm really upset about Tesla with this. Now, I will say, as a Tesla investor, honestly, this means there's still so much improvement for Tesla. And I've always said that once Tesla deals with all of the problems they have, I'm not going to invest in Tesla anymore, because that means we've probably reached peak potential. So, as an investor, I actually like sometimes that Tesla still has problems, because it means we're going to have lower adoption. We're not going to get to that mass adoption just yet, and that's okay, because there's enough Tesla demand right now to maximize production at Tesla factories. But when we get 2 years down the road, these problems better be fixed, because then Tesla's going to have more gigafactory capacity, and we're going to need those perfection buyers, the Mercedes and the BMW buyers who are like, I want it perfect, I want the horn to work, I don't want to have to move my finger to press the horn in an emergency. If I pay $10,000 for full self-driving or more in the future, I better have a safety score after my first trip, like the app says. When those people start adopting Tesla, then I think that's where Tesla becomes the max mainstream that it can go. And then that, in my opinion, is where we start getting potentially to peak style growth. Maybe that won't happen until 2025, 2030. So ironically, the more of these little annoyances I have, the more it's a sign to me that Tesla still has that room for growth and improvement. Because as long as you have room for improvement, you have room for growth. So I know this is like a really twisted way of looking at it, but I will say, I'm frustrated. I'm extremely frustrated that I went from a Model X, which I cannot get full self-driving in the Model X, which is a 2017 vehicle, because it doesn't have the updated cameras yet. And you can't buy the updated cameras yet, even though Elon Musk said, hey, we're coming out with the updated cameras soon. Now, I hear rumors that they're coming out with the updated cameras for the Model X, and I bought a new car to experience full self-driving, and I still can't because I don't get a safety score. So I kind of personally feel screwed. I feel like I got taken advantage of. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and nobody at Tesla can tell me if I'm doing anything wrong, because I've gone through all the troubleshooting steps and I'm still not getting what I feel like I paid for. And again, I'm not asking in an entitled way to get to the front of the line. That's not what I'm asking for. I just do feel like I'm getting ripped off. Now let's talk about my experience with a launch mode or a cheetah mode. This is basically where you hold down the brake of the car, then hold the gas after putting it on drag strip mode. You could choose to wait for peak performance or not, which it shows you on screen.
So I think, once again, to reiterate, I think me, Kevin's totally bang on there. I think Tesla should deliver what they're promising, and since they've said anyone in the US who's paid for full self-driving beta can get access to it if they have a good safety score, they should really be giving safety scores to everyone. Even if Meet Kevin's safety score is a 70, at least he should have a safety score so he knows what he has to do to get full self-driving. It's unfortunate that after so long owning the car, he has still not received a safety score, so I do feel for you there.
And then you let go of the brake and the car launches. This is where you get that about 1.9 seconds 0 to 60. Take a look. Oh, Jesus! What the beep, beep, beep. Oh my God. Now I want to say, I have tried launch mode on dry roads, bumpy roads, dusty and rocky roads, and wet roads. And I will say, the
Rocky Road.
car handles amazingly in all of them, even when you're launching the vehicle. On dusty and rocky roads, you can feel some of the traction lose on some of the wheels, but the car seems to autocorrect that extremely well. The same is actually true on wet roads. When I launched this vehicle on a wet road with no other vehicles around, I could feel my back right tire about 3 times during the launch freeze up and then continue to go. I believe this is because the electronic motors are making about 1,000 adjustments per second to these tires to make sure you're maintaining traction. It's extremely difficult to spin this car. And so even in a launch mode, while it was raining and launching the vehicle, I felt traction lose about 3 times. The car stopped that tire until it regained traction and then continued driving through a launch. I've also taken the car to a complete stop, turned the wheel all the way in and on wet roads in the rain, and stepped on the gas just to see if I could fishtail the car, and I was not able to. I would feel that back tire, in this case, much more frequently stop, so it kind of make this bumpy feeling as it was basically maintaining traction, but I could not get the car to spin, which in my opinion, phenomenal in terms of safety. Now, something I do like about the screen though is it's very responsive. So if I want to move things around, I mean, this is like an iPad. So if you've got the map here, if you want to see where the superchargers are, I can click on these. I can see that 6 stalls out of 20 are available. Now, unfortunately, in my Model X, I had lifetime supercharging for free. Here, I'm going to get charged because it's a new vehicle, and that lifetime supercharging does not carry over. I still have that X though, since my dad's driving it, so technically we still have that free supercharging in the family. But
I do miss the lifetime free supercharging. I was one of the lucky few who got that on our original Model X and also on our Tesla Model 3. There's very few people who have lifetime free supercharging on Tesla Model 3s, but I bought one of the early performance editions, and Tesla was offering free unlimited supercharging on the Model 3 Performance for a few months, and I was able to snag that. So it's really nice to always pull up to a supercharger stall and know that it's going to be free. Obviously, that's not available anymore, but it's something that maybe Tesla should bring back if they're trying to sell cars at some point in the future. But at this point, they have no demand problem. It's purely a supply challenge that they have at the moment, producing enough cars. So I don't expect them to bring back free lifetime supercharging anytime soon, unfortunately.
Anyway, rates are posted. Obviously, they give you idle rates and peak rates at different times. But the responsiveness of this, very, very good. It's much more enjoyable than in the Model X. In the Model X, even playing games was almost impossible because of how slow the screen was. So over 4 years, they've absolutely sped this up very, very well. The sync works well, and the voice activation actually works quickly and promptly. So let's give it a shot here. We'll do a live test. Play Danger Zone. Okay, we'll do live timing in terms of how long it takes. It says playing Danger Zone. My volume might be low. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. So that gives you a little bit of a real example without any...
That was a little slow, and to be honest, I wish Tesla would allow you to redirect the voice control button to Siri or Google Assistant. I find Tesla's voice commands to be adequate, better than other vehicles that I've used, but certainly not as good as a voice assistant like Siri or Google Assistant. Kevin doesn't really talk about that here, but it is definitely very snappy in the newer vehicles, and I'm sure it's even snappier in the Model S Plaid that he has.
Not in terms of how long it took for that to rate. Not bad. If I did that on the Model X, it would have taken at least 5 to 6 times as long, if it even worked. Now, one thing that I did notice that was really weird and threw me off the first time was if I was playing music through the infotainment system, and then I switched to my phone. Let's say I want to play Iris by U2. I press play here. I can verify that we're on Tesla Model S. I can see it's playing, but it doesn't automatically transfer over. It doesn't automatically start playing. It still says, can you log in Danger Zone here, while my time is ticking on Iris U2, hold me close, right? Weird. So I feel like it should automatically take over. It took us quite a while to realize that there's actually this button right here. And if I click here, then it transitions over. So, okay, little quirk, little thing to get used to, not that big of a deal, but otherwise much more responsive infotainment, Bluetooth, and
That's
everything.
the Bluetooth button.
The 2017. A lot of improvements. I will say before we go to the back of the car, in terms of self-driving, this car will change lanes substantially faster than any self-driving vehicle that I've seen before, and I actually purposefully set my self-driving to a distance of 5 seconds following another vehicle, and when it comes to changing lanes, I am a big fan of the slow modes. I believe that's under customized. Here we go. Speed-based lane changes. I have it on mild, because I don't require a confirmation for when it changes lanes. It kind of can just do it. And even on mild, this car will cut people off, and will change lanes very quickly. So it has done so safely. I have not felt unsafe in the autopilot yet on this. I do not have the self-driving autopilot yet, but I will say this is a much speedier car. Let's hit the back. I love about the back is, first of all, we have 3 heated seats in the back, and you've got this really cool monitor in the back. Love it. You've also got the temperature control. We've got it set to 69 right now. Love this. You've got the music control back here. Boom. Play that music. There we go. Love that. Gives the driver a little bit more peace to where people can just do whatever they want back here. Apparently you can even pull up YouTube, which I have not tried to do yet, so we'll see what happens. But there are 2 USB-Cs right here, which I enjoy. Love the heated seats back here. I will say, though, if you are back here with 3 individuals, it gets tight. Oh yeah, look at that. It opens up a browser. I wouldn't necessarily say this is like an app. It feels a lot like the actual browser. Let's go ahead and type in Meet Kevin here to see what happens. Okay, let's try Omicron, First Death. Here we go. Let's play that. Oh, we're going to get our ad here. And a loud car. Wait for the ad to go by. Now. That is cool. I actually like that. So people can watch YouTube back here, whether it's top that down there, so go ahead and hit that volume button here, and you can lower or increase or lower the volume back here as well. I haven't gotten really good at figuring out exactly how to do it because the volume button's not the most responsive, but I have noticed this screenplay.
Okay, so the rest of this video is just me, Kevin, talking about the rear screen in the Model S Plaid, which I think is a little bit of a gimmick. I think an iPad or really any device that can play live video or YouTube is going to be more fun than a small screen that's below your eye level. I think this would be quite uncomfortable to stare at for any length of time because the screen is quite small. I guess it's something cool to have in the vehicle, but really not something that would make or break a car purchase decision for me. And Kevin spends the last few minutes of his video talking about this, so we'll just hop through and see if he says anything else that's more interesting.
It's very, very good. Why is that so crappy? Hold on a second. You hold it? Am I doing it wrong? So I don't think I'm screwing up on the volume here, but it's not as reactive as it should be on the volume here. But I have to say, if I wanted to pop up YouTube here, you do get a little bit of this pause loading screen. Occasionally it makes you go back if you do want to change the volume. A little inconvenient because you have to swipe down to change the volume unless the driver wants to do it. And if you have to swipe down and it closes your video just to change the volume, a little inconvenient. It'd be nice if there was some kind of easy way to pull up that menu without having to close my video. I prefer that, but
So obviously inflation
don't
is like all the rage.
don't see that opportunity just yet. Of course, you could, oh wait, see if I move it a little bit, no, you see the menu pop up, but it doesn't stay long enough for you actually to do anything. Of course, you could just use the YouTube volume control, which that is actually extremely responsive. This is like an iPad. One complaint some folks have had is that this button is maybe not as intuitive, so you want to get out of the car. If you push it long, it works. It might not give you the biggest open feel here. You've got a ledge, you got to get your foot over here, you kind of have to like lift your toes in a little bit.
I've definitely had the same experience in the Model 3. It has the same buttons to get out, and no one figures it out on the first try if you just let them know that you have to push the button and hold it down for half a second to get out. Most people get it. A lot of people think that the door will open for you, but that's a learning curve like any new technology. It's just a button to open the door. I don't think it's really a big deal.
a little tight for what it is. Some folks touch it and don't get it to open right away. If you do a short touch, it won't open, which, no problem. There you go. So it's just a matter of getting used to that. Might be something the guests are a little more like, oh, how do I get out of this?
Now, another safety complaint here. Without actually having physical opportunities for you to open the door, what happens in the event of an emergency and you need to get out and the power system's malfunctioning? You have no door handle. Now, you might think, oh, well, I'll just break the window. Not as easy as you think. First of all, you got side curtain airbags. Side curtain airbags, like a big old cloth balloon now in the way. So you gotta move that and try to break a window. That's not the easiest to break. Best option tends to be your elbow. You're probably gonna break your elbow doing it. One of the best options could potentially be the glass above you, by just leaning back and kicking the glass up above you. Probably the best way, since a lot of the ceiling in the car is glass on the inside.
And then again, getting out, you're kind of biffing up the side a little bit.
Yeah, so Kevin's right here. There is no mechanical way to get out of the rear seats of the Model S. I've seen some modifications that can be done to enable escape from the rear seat. The thing that I have is just a little hammer and seatbelt cutter that I keep in the vehicle with me at all times, and I'll put a link to that in the description below. It's good to have one of those just in case you need to get out of your vehicle and all the electronics fail for some reason.
Not that big of a deal, mostly because I'm the driver. I did also notice that if you wanted to upgrade these calipers to red, you'd be paying about $10,000. In my opinion, not worth it. But I have to say, otherwise, the car...
Totally not worth it, because you can get them painted red for about $200, and if you're upgrading them to red, you might get some additional braking potential. Not totally sure about that. Yeah, the color for 10 grand, definitely not worth it in my opinion.
Really impressive. I like it. I know I've listed a bunch of complaints here. Is it worth $148,000? God, no. Buy Tesla stock instead. Now, people get mad at me when I say that because they're like, dude, how could you recommend people buy stock but then not buy the car? Like, that would bankrupt the company. People are going to buy the car anyway. They're not going to listen. I mean, if you're watching this video, there's a chance you want to buy the car. Or you just really like Tesla and the car company, which is fine. And look, as a Tesla bull, I tell people, buy the stock, not the car. Here I am. I bought it. This is butter. Butter melts away. This is not an investment. But hey, if this can make me appreciate where Tesla's going more, and I can start understanding, okay, where are we cutting from margin, or where are we cutting from the car to try to improve the company's margin, like we mentioned, the back hatch, the doors self-presenting and self-closing, some of these things, they make me just understand a little bit more, okay, now I see how they're getting away with increasing their profits and potentially taking away some features. Are those going to alienate customers in the future? What they've done? Probably not. Minor nuisances and annoyances? Sure. Would they prevent me from buying this car? Like, if somebody told me those things up front, would I not buy this car? No, because it's fun as anything. The cheetah mode is crazy. It's a fun experience. It's going to give me an opportunity to get into the full self-driving beta. Sure, I could have gotten into that, though, getting a Model 3 or Y. So again, is this worth it versus like a 3 or Y? Probably not. The 3s and Ys I've driven, the new models, phenomenal. Really tight steering. You really feel like the car is well put together at higher speeds. You didn't feel that. You didn't have that in 2017 Model X's. It felt a lot shakier and looser. In fact, I'll say it. I've taken this car, the fastest I've ever taken a car, which was previously a record held by a Mercedes SL, an old one from the 90s, on the Autobahn in Germany. Totally legal. That was about 137 miles an hour. And I had death grip on the steering wheel, and I felt like the car was, like the bolts were going to start coming off because everything was shaking. Older car. This vehicle, I have taken 140 miles an hour. I didn't even realize I was going any faster than 90. That is scary. It feels very well put together, especially at high speeds. And that Yoke, delicious at those higher speeds. Don't recommend driving that fast because it's very dangerous. But if you're going to do it, this is definitely a car I would say you'd want to be the one to do it in, or is the car that you'd want to do it in. Anyway, if you found this review helpful, consider sharing the video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And folks, we'll see you next one. Thanks.
All right, so that was a pretty good video there from Meet Kevin. He gave a good summary of some of the features and the challenges that he's had with the vehicle. Obviously, I think a lot of his issues basically come from the fact that he had a Model X previously and now he has a Model S. He's thinking that some of the features that Tesla has not chosen to bring to the Model S are signs of them cutting costs, but really it's just them being consistent with their model lineup. Now, Tesla could spend extra money and add those features to the Model S, but like he said, I don't think it would add a lot of customers for them. So I think they're making a good trade-off here. Also, like Kevin said, if you're looking for one of these vehicles, a Model 3 or a Model Y is probably going to suit your needs a lot better than the Model S. It's really just a flex at this point. I don't think there's any major differences in day-to-day life, in quality of life that a Model S gives you over a Model Y or a Model 3. 1.9 versus 2.9 seconds 0 to 60 might help you beat someone off the line, but what else is it going to do? You're able to get full self-driving in both vehicles. You're able to get the storage capacity in the Model Y. So if I had to select between the two vehicles, I would certainly pick the one that's nearly a third the price of the Model S Plaid, and that's the Model 3 or the Model Y. So overall, I think a really good review here from Meet Kevin. He does make a few errors, and it might lead him to make some considerations when investing in Tesla, like they're working on cutting costs when I didn't really see a lot of evidence that they are cutting costs in that vehicle. Maybe they've done it in other places, but certainly not in the areas where Meet Kevin suggested that they have. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are you going to buy a Model S Plaid? Are you buying Tesla stock? Excited to hear your answers. I know I'm going to be buying some Tesla stock, but I'm really excited to test out the Tesla Cybertruck when that finally comes out. But for now, that's all. We'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.